All right. Hey, good morning. Or I'm sorry, it's good afternoon now. I've been working all morning. Got a lot of stuff done. It's been a pretty busy time. I'm editing uh, about 9 chapters of The Last Reaper before I write the final scene. So that's very exciting. I should be finished with The Last Reaper 16 by, if not tomorrow, then definitely Monday. It'll go off to editors, beta readers, several rounds of corrections, and so on. So that's what we're getting started with. I got up this morning and started. Well, actually, I got up this morning exhausted because I'm in sleep deprivation hell. It's another story. I'm sure a lot of us deal with it. But so I got up tired, didn't have coffee right away. Kind of a new thing, trying to kind of get rolling before I start pounding the caffeine, and definitely cutting it off later in the day. So, but anyway, wasn't really feeling to doing the second um, Moonbase Live, which is where we are now. But I decided to do it anyway. Now I'm glad I did because I'm in a much better mood. I'm all cleaned up. I got a bunch of chores done. I worked on getting this post put together, did a bunch of editing, and did some work on my ads. So it seems like that's an ongoing process now, learning how to do the effective Facebook, Amazon ad marketing. So this morning, um, as part of preparing for this, I wrote a little blog article, put it up on Substack. In the past, I've always done that kind of retroactively, but I thought, you know what? Let's talk about the what's on my mind this morning, and we'll put it out there with a link. And then if anybody jumps over here, that's great. I know that Substack and Facebook tend to be are often very distinct groups of media consumers, and I respect that. I like Substack because supposedly it's not as whimsical with the algorithms. You kind of just get what you get when you post it there. And Substack, at least the last time I did the research on it, wasn't supposed to decide what you saw or didn't see or push things it thought matched all your other stuff, which is a super cool idea if it's actually true. Who knows? Um, Facebook, as everybody probably has experienced, is full of ads, full of content not related to them, and generally full of a lot of angry people. There's some fun people too, and some crazy memes, which of course we all like. So I got up and I wrote that a little article, about 400 words, and what the idea that had popped in my head was talking about how Grammarly can't write your book because there's been a lot of talk about AI and generative AI. Now, Claude now has some sort of auto watermarking for AI generated text, which is new. I believe there's some statutes in California that pertain to AI generated content, but I'm not sure how it handles text. What I found interesting from my research on that is because I'm all about um, writing things organically and not using generative AI. I do use tools like Pro Writing Aid or Grammarly. AutoCrit's a good site that does that. I've used a dictation transcription service. Um, what's it called? I can't remember it. Dang it. I better find it. Author Scribe, Writer Scribe. I just had it pulled up because I was just using it. 1 second. Just hang on. I can't believe that I'm brain farting that. I think it's well. So anyway, it's a transcription where you Seth Ring is one who developed it with some other people, and it's very good. But the concept is that you dictate. You don't get to see your text. You just like you're recording in a recorder, old school. You drop it into their program, and it puts in basic punctuation and stuff like that. And there's no generative AI. It doesn't change your words. It doesn't do anything for you. It just cleans it up so that it's just not as clunky. And I've used that, and it's pretty good. I tend to get a little too wordy when I'm using it, and there's a little bit of problems with the paragraph breaks and the dialogue attribution. So sometimes it mashes two people together, and if you don't catch that before you send it to your editor, they can be very confused. So for that particular, and it probably goes for any just straight dictation where you're reading into a microphone and not seeing the words, a very good piece of advice is to use lots of dialogue attributions, even when you don't feel they're that necessary, because you can just take them out later. Um, but for your transcriptionists, well, thank you. So I've done that, and I've also done a lot of dictating lately where I just go like straight into Apple Pages or Scrivener, which is on my Mac, or even Word, and just dictating. Now you can't jump around and use lots of voice commands like you could do in Dragon Anywhere or Dragon Dictation. But if you watch it carefully and you have a system for cleaning it up afterwards, it's a pretty good way to write because you can get the thoughts out there. It mostly spells better than I do. And then you can use various tools to clean up where you're supposed to put in quotes, or you did some sort of where your science fiction names were interpreted uniquely by the dictation, because you can't train it like you could with Dragon Anywhere or Dragon Dictation. So my point is that all of those things are tools. None of them are generative. Um, I think what people are really rebelling against is people who go to write a story, they drop in a couple sloppy prompts, then they generate a bunch of words, and then they throw it on Amazon, and they just basically do it over and over again and bury the universe in AI slop, which is everybody's favorite catchphrase lately. And the authors who've been working their whole lives or are just getting started and are very serious about their craft can't be seen. They're just literally buried in the stuff. I don't know that it's that much of a threat that somebody's going to steal your ideas with AI, although I'm sure that's possible. It's just that it's already so hard to get seen now. Um, when people start publishing a book a day or 10 books a day, with AI, probably there's really no limit. They could probably publish 1,000 books a day, and they might look good at first glance. And even if people open those books, like in Kindle Unlimited, and they read like half a page or they read one page and decide it's not for them, well, that's attention they took away from somebody else. And that person that published that still gets paid for one page, which is generally about 0.004 cents. So you can see the type of scale these scammers have to do with these AI generated things to get a lot. But if you publish 50,000 books and they all get half a penny a day, whatever the math is, I guess maybe that works out for somebody. That's one of the big dangers I see right now. There's also a lot of danger I fear where people are getting falsely accused of stuff. Like if you use an M dash, you must be using AI. If you like certain types of flowery language, or you use short sentences, or whatever the thing is today, because everybody's convinced they can read the AI writing. I think it definitely falls apart in longer works, especially. It's not like writing an email. Writing a novel is not like writing an email. So that is where I was going at with this. And I should probably pull up the article because I had some interesting thoughts in there. But basically, my feelings on the matter is that if you write a good book and you want to use spell checker or pro writing aid or any of those things, they don't write the book for you. If you're putting in a prompt and telling it to generate me 50,000 words on blah, 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 whatever idea, that's a different story, and I won't support that. Clearly, a lot of people angry about it online. I'm not going to lie, looking at AI wiping out writers, narrators, book cover artists is very distressing to me because it's been my lifelong dream. You finally get here, and then there's somebody shitting all over the place. I mean, that fucking sucks. So, excuse my language. If you know me, you probably saw that coming with the profanity. So where was I going with that? Someplace positive, hopefully. I just really love to write. I write every day. I find some of these tools to be very nice. Setting up these videos and stuff and making thumbnails is much easier. All my book covers are paid artists. I value them and they do better work. And the whole process is better. I think you have more legal rights to the using the book for, depending on how you pay for your licensing with your with your book cover artists, whether you want to do merch or all these other things. It's just better to pay for an artist. Plus, we're all in this together. Same with narrators. I've been getting a lot of pressure from um, if you have a book published in Amazon KDP, probably at some point they're going to say use this virtual voice to make your book into an audiobook. And um, it's very tempting for a lot of people because audiobooks are very expensive to make. Contrary to what a lot of the gurus tell you, you're probably not going to make your money back on them unless you already have a very successful thing going. And it's a lot. And a lot of people really want their books in audiobook. I love to listen to audiobooks. It's my preferred method of consuming a story, even above like watching movies. I just love it. I always have. And it's sad when I write these books and then I just can't get the numbers to work or to get them into audiobooks. Fortunately, lately, when I team up with Jay and Cheney, my early books with Richard Fox, Craig Martell, they all had audiobook connections. Same with my books with Athon. And recently, my solo books, more of them have been getting picked up by Podium. I've developed a pretty good relationship with them, and hopefully they sell well enough that they'll continue to do that. So, having said that, I did get a contract that's coming up. They're not made yet for my Red Vapor. This is my post-apocalyptic series. I also have my Tall Boys books are already out there, most of them, and some other things. So that's the deal. It's always better to pay the narrators. Plus, if you just find a really good narrator, like I found Connor Brannigan listening to Substack stuff, and it's just so good. I couldn't believe that I was able to contact him and contract him, because initially I had contracted him for me to produce the books myself, but once Podium became interested, I was like, I'm gonna let the pros handle it. So they did, and they did a great job. So that's Red Vapor. This is not what I'm working on right now. I usually work on at least 2 projects at once. Right now I'm finishing up The Last Reaper, and then I will move to this, and then I'm going to handle a few other projects. One second. So if you like retro book covers, this is the last Reaper. It's I'll be working on book 16. The cover, this book 1 has had 3 covers. This is the second cover that was done for The Last Reaper, and I think it's awesome. The newest one, the one if you go to look at on Amazon, is even cooler. It's just, I can't even believe how tickled I am every time I look at these books. So if you were here last time or have watched the other video, I have done some improvements to my room, although there'll be some more things. I was told by some very, how would you say it? My interior advisors, my family was like, you need to do something with your room. And it's not really something I've ever decorated to be presented or showed to people other than just put my books on there. I do have some instruments. I have my string bass, which I've had for since the late 80s. I have not practiced it for a while, so don't ask me to get onto that here, but maybe someday. Some guitars. I have my laptops over here. That's part of my writing process. I shared a post this morning on Instagram and some of the Facebook things where how I do my proofreading every single morning. And I copy the chapter or 2, or in this case about 9, because I'm about to finish a book, and I put them into Speechify, which is a paid app, and then it reads them back to me. And while it reads them, I follow along in my book, and I use Scrivener so I can change the text color for what I'm typing for this instance. So like I'll change it to red, so everything I type new is red, and I can see how much I change. It's a little bit like track changes, but it's not track changes. For people who are familiar with that, it is different. I find it extremely useful. I really like it. Other funny things. I'm using Incident of the Day. So My son and I have been doing jujitsu and judo quite a bit. He's, of course, much more talented at it than I am, being young and athletic. But we did buy, or I bought a jujitsu throwing dummy, so you can practice throwing it rather than breaking each other all the time, and you get a lot more reps in. I have a submission master jujitsu dummy. I have punching bags. I have weights. I kind of spent all my money on either what's in this room or on workout equipment. Some of it I actually use. But the judo dummy comes wrapped like a dead body, and they don't really ring your doorbell anymore apparently. So my dog barked. I heard the dog barked at somebody. It's always Mavis is always barking at somebody walking by, and sometimes she barks at the delivery people too. But in this case, the barking ended. I didn't think much of it, and I went up there and I see this giant blue wrapped body standing up inside the little pillar of our porch where they put it, I guess, to hide it from porch pirates, which would be hilarious to see a porch pirate run and snatch that thing because it weighs 120 pounds, which doesn't sound like that much. But if you try to manhandle that thing, it's ugly. So it should be fun it's easier to throw than to pick up because of the way its lack of flexibility is, for all that. So that was pretty hilarious. So I unpackaged that, dealt with that, built up quite a nasty sweat just doing that because it's so hot here. So I got my workout in, put together a chair, worked on some technical stuff for this live broadcast, and evaluated my ads for the week, which are doing all right. I have a few tweaks I want to keep making on those, and sitting down to finish this book. And if you're like a lot of authors, you tend to beat yourself up quite a bit. But when you go back and read something that you haven't looked at recently, as I'm doing this morning, it's kind of amazing. You're like, I can't believe I wrote that. That's amazing. Not like it's the best thing ever, but it definitely feels like you're like, wow, you know what I mean? Everybody's had something like that. We're like, that isn't too shabby. So that's where I'm at today. That's my Moonbase Live. Um, Stay tuned for next week. I'll do another one. I'm probably going to get StreamYard, which means I can add some intro music. I've had Drew Avera and some others have offered to contribute music and different things, which I'm going to keep it real simple. I'm going to probably just take what comes with StreamYard at first, and then I'll get my talented artist and musician friends to add in their things because I know they all love to do that. And that's where we're at. So have a great week. I would love it if you have read any of my books to leave reviews. I'm looking for reviews on all of the Chaos Forever series books. Also, Tall Boys is always one of my favorites. And we're going to do a big launch on The Last Reaper. So not everybody's read them. There's 15 books in The Last Reaper series. It was my breakout series. It kind of made me believe that, yes, I can do this for a living. And I'm really excited about book 16. So I don't think we've released the title and cover yet, but that should be coming soon. I'll let you know. So take care, be safe, and be kind to each other.